Are we live?
We should be, mate.
Oh, okay. Why can't we see me? Usually we can see us.
No, you got to scroll down. I think you have to push this.
Ah.
There you go.
I don't know if anyone's there.
Yay!
Oh, we got Zari.
Hey, Zari.
And John. Excellent.
How are you two doing? This is going to be intimate.
Alright, there's a beam of sunlight right on my face.
You're not moving. Suck it up. So how are you doing? How are you two doing?
Yeah, is it just the three of us so far? And Hagen, excellent.
Yay!
Abraham from San
Abraham.
Francisco.
Okay, can you hear us okay?
Yeah, let us
That's
know what
first
the sound is like.
So you can hear us okay? See us okay? We're using Wi-Fi as always. Okay, fantastic. Thank you, John. I shall pass the compliments on to me. So yeah, here we are. This is kind of the first time we've done this for Patreon, which is kind of cool actually.
Yeah.
We had a couple of.
Christy's here. Hi, Christy.
Hey, Christy. Oh, I'm glad you managed to make it. So this is nice.
Yes.
So really, we could probably crack open a couple of beers.
Do we have any beers?
We've got Bush. We do. We have Bush. Do you want a beer?
I wouldn't know. Can I have a non-alcoholic beer?
I'll go and
Is
get
that allowed?
Yeah, right. Get fed up.
All right. So, did I get all the times right? So Abraham is from San Francisco, so it must be what, about 8 in the morning for you? There is an echo. Oh dear, Nick, there's an echo. I have to bring in my IT specialist for that. Hang on. I see the Bush and the non-alcoholic beer. All right. Hey?
Did you just throw it back in the fridge?
What?
You threw your cheese back in the fridge, didn't you? Now at the bottom of the fridge.
Do my kettle. 8 a.m. Cool. No echo here, says John.
So 5 o'clock in Sweden.
All right. Well, apparently there might be an echo, and there may not be an echo.
I thought I was just the echo of you.
Yeah, I think that's Nick's way of saying he doesn't know.
I don't know.
Yeah.
No, nothing we can do about it.
All right. So cheers.
Yeah, cheers. This is, look at this. Only 71 to go after this.
I'm having a non-alcoholic beer because it's only 5 o'clock. And
So
the
this
evening is young.
So, as you know, we're in Spain. And Spain, really, it's beautiful, but one thing we have found is they have so many brands of non-alcoholic beer, it's not worth talking about. So we've had about 8 or 10 different types of beer.
Yeah.
Non-alcoholic. And before you start, going, what the hell are you doing? First Bush, now non-alcoholic beer, I'm unsubscribing. It's a bit nuts because basically it's so hot here, you have to drink a lot during the day, and if you were to just drink regular beer, you'd be slaughtered all the time.
You can always drink water.
I know, but there's certain but going to a bar and just having water at lunchtime is rubbish. Anyway, so we've been drinking non-alcoholic beer.
Yeah, true.
And it stops me getting tubby. So listen, now that we've got you all here, not shamming it up. So
We've got Zari, we've got Christy, we've got John, we've got Abraham, and we've got Hagen and us. So there's 6 of us at the moment.
Oh, that's right.
That's
nice.
quite nice little group.
So listen, the reason we've done this is obviously to kind of give you something that, something different.
Yeah.
But is there anything? Do you have any questions? Because basically, someone was on Twitter the other day going, "Oh, hang on a minute! Like, why are you doing this for non-patrons? What are they getting that we're not getting?" I've been anyway. So, if you have any questions that we actually can have the time to answer, so rather than kind of normally the feed we've got in an hour. There's normally 500 people all trying to kind of get in, and then there's the trolls that kind of like want to know about the size of my breasts. So yeah, if you have any questions which are boating related or related to things that you think actually I'd like a detailed answer on that, just let us know because that's how we're going to go with this.
Or anything.
Yeah, anything. I can't. Yes.
We actually did have someone message us earlier.
Tell us.
With some questions, but of course I don't have them in front of me. Can I just open up?
No, you're not touching that.
Page?
No, I don't want you to touch the computer. You're going to have to think of them.
I didn't read.
In that case, it falls by the wayside, my love.
Why don't I?
No, you're not touching that computer.
All right, I'll get my computer.
No, that's what you get.
I'll be back in a second, you people.
So yeah, have anyone been to Valencia? Has any of you been to Valencia in Spain? It's pretty bloody awesome. Literally, we had a plan. to finish our season somewhere about 80 miles north of here. But we've kind of got here and we're like, this place is amazing. If you haven't visited Valencia, just come and see the place. It is fantastic. Such a nice part of the world. People are friendly, but it's a really lovely city. It's kind of modern, but has a bohemian twist to it. It's, yeah, very, very pleased with that. And so we've kind of decided to winter here. So we'll be here now, I think, for, well, you know, as the season ends, we'll be here probably till spring. And then that gives us kind of loads of space to do other stuff, you know, in spring. There's the bit interesting what you're going to say.
Well, while we're waiting to see if our lovely patrons want to ask us any questions, Tony Willett was not able to make this particular live feed, but he sent me some questions in advance, which were, one, did you ever meet up with Distant Shores in Portugal or Gibraltar? Yes, we did. We did. They were good, actually. We got to see their new boat, their Southerly 480, which we kind of cooed over. It's a beautiful boat. It is a beautiful boat. Ooh, that's a nice question from John Applegate. So Distant Shores 3, the Southerly 480 or Discovery 480, whatever it's called now. Southerly 480. Yeah, I like it. I wouldn't buy it. If I had the money, it's probably I'd buy something else. And there's just it's a lot of money for not a lot of interior space. Like really, with the money we'd get something else. I think where we take our sailing next, we don't need the lift keel. It's a very expensive boat. Yeah, we don't need the lift keel for anymore. We've got the lift keel for the Bahamas and possibly the French canals, and that part of the adventure is over, which is why moving on, this boat will be sold at some point and we'll move on to what we need for the Pacific. But yeah, this was bought for the Atlantic circuit and the Pacific. That's what we've done. So Distant Shores 3, Paul and Cheryl are lovely. They, as you may know, we've known them for years. Like before we started sailing, before we set off, we used to watch them, and then we became friends. And they're just like our kind of like slightly Canadian aunt and uncle. That's how I look at them. They're kind of like, oh. I don't know if they see us in the same way. No, they just see us as me as a cheeky little upstart that turns up with yeah, so we did meet them. So, Tony, we'll answer your other question now as well, which was, when does the Med season end and what are you doing for the off-season? So, I mean, you can sail in the Med all year, really. In winter, obviously, you have to pick your weather window a little bit more. But, you know, lots of people sail year-round. I think it's probably wise to have a marina that you can kind of run to if the weather kind of closes in. But for us, our season will end kind of beginning of November, end of October. Yeah, I think our sailing's almost done. Yeah, well, we had planned to go a little bit further this year, but we've arrived in Valencia and we thought, my God, what an amazing place to kind of wind down the season, because normally we spend about a month or so in a marina at the end of every season just to get all of our jobs done. And we can't really imagine a better place to spend that month. No, it's pretty nice. So we really want to spend that time here. And there's a boatyard about 5 miles away, and we're yet to check them out. But I think that's tomorrow's job. And if everything's okay, and if they're able to lift us out, I think that was Zara's question. In the water on the hard, we'll be lifting out and leaving the boat on the hard until probably February. Yeah, I mean we've got anti-fouling to do and our heads to change, and so all that stuff's got to be done. I also think that we haven't. It is best practice to. We were put in. Pull out. We haven't. Oh, dear. No comment. Carry on. What were you about to say? You were about to say something sensible for a change. What? Yeah, we haven't. We lifted in Charleston, so it's been. Yeah, we went in. We were dropped in the water in Charleston, so we haven't. It's been over a year since the boat's been out the water, so we've got things to do. So that's a good thing. And then over the winter, we'll be going to Australia, and then we'll be spending some time with your family. Yeah, so we just got. It's, as I said, it's been an amazing season. We're just trying to work out how much we've done. It's been about 10,000 miles, maybe 8,000 miles. But it's been hard. We've done Atlantic crossing. We did the. ICW, we did the Bahamas, Bermuda, and all that good stuff. It's been really varied, and it's bloody amazing. So that's the first thing. I'm going to go through these questions in order. So there's questions from John again, and then Chrissy, I'll get to you as well. So yeah. So John's actually told us the America's Cup was 27. 2007.
Okay, that's cool.
And 2010.
So, John says, without the entire public seeing your response, you touched on lightly on your previous postings. What do you really think of WCC and how they run their events? We are doing the Caribbean 1500. So, I think Teresa and I disagree slightly on this. I will speak for myself, and I really like the way WCC do things. I really do. I think they are really good at holding your hand. If it's your first rally, they make you feel kind of safer than you would do if you were doing it on your own. And I think that I would go with them again. The one thing that I don't agree with, and I think this is probably where Teresa's going to go with, and I'll let her speak once I've finished rabbiting on, is that because, especially the bigger events where there are so many boats, they very, very, very rarely delay departure because of weather. They don't wait for weather windows. And I disagree with that. I understand why when we did the Ark in 2015, half the skippers, including myself, were going into the office saying, you have got to cancel the start. This weather is going to pass through in 2 days. And they didn't. But I really like what they do. And to say the truth, I like sailing with buddy boats. It makes me feel slightly safer, which makes it kind of like reduces anxiety. So that's my take on it. I do really like what they do.
Yeah, I think that if you're going to do a rally, then definitely the WCC, in my opinion, offers the best rally option. However, I have no problem with the rally itself, but I have some hesitation over kind of just the concept of rallies. I think there's some massive pros and cons, and the pros are obvious, and I enjoy the rally experience as much as the next person because it's very social, and you do get that kind of support. Any questions that you have can be answered, whether they're relating to the kind of sailing that you're about to do, or where the best pub is locally, or where to provision, or anything like that. So you really do have someone holding your hand, which is always nice, especially when you're used to cruising on your own, and sometimes it can get a bit exhausting having to kind of figure all these things out for yourself. However, I think that the inherent issue with doing any rally is that, as Nick said, you're committed to a particular leaving date, and I think for some departures this is less of a problem than for others. So, for example, the Ark, as in the original Ark from Las Palmas to St. Lucia, although they've got a couple of other kind of variations of it now, it's fairly reasonable because the trade winds are fairly they're pretty predictable. You don't have much variety in the weather that you get in November, and that's part of the Atlantic Ocean. So they set the departure date for end of November, and kind of 95% of the time the weather will be absolutely fine. However, when you're doing these other crossings that are in parts of the world where the weather is less certain, then I would be a little bit more hesitant. However, if the weather really is that bad, then they will delay the start. So, I don't know. I think...
Well, Sally's asked a question, which I just want to sort of like, she says, can you join in, but then wait for the weather, wait if the weather is bad, or do you, are you out if you decide to wait? So this is basically our stance. We were, when we did our Ark, we were one of the smallest boats, which basically meant we were always a bit back of the fleet. And if we had waited 2 days or 3 days, we would have never caught up with anyone. We'd have essentially been doing it on our own. We'd have had the kind of telephone support, but we wouldn't have been in the pack. And it's not meant to be a race, but it is. And you're in divisions, so you kind of want to try and get the best out of your boat. I think if we had a bigger boat that could would go maybe 2 knots faster, then the decision to wait would be easier because you could catch up with smaller boats. So yes, you can wait, and a couple of boats on the World Ark waited out a few days because they're like, this weather's nuts. We're not leaving. Well, and I think that's a really good skippering decision and a brave one.
But the World Cruising Club don't kind of just drop you if you delay your start. They'll continue their support. For even if you're a week late or whatever, they'll continue to support you. So you'll probably feel left behind, but you've paid for the rally, and they'll still send you all the weather updates and everything. They'll still do the tracking on your boat. You'll still have that kind of onshore support. But
the social, this is what they say for the World Ark, or is it? It's either 6 or 6.5.
No, they say 5 for the World Ark.
Is it 5?
Yes.
Really? Okay.
100%.
So really, The problem is that when you do these multi-stop events...
Yeah, it's different if it's A to B, like the Ark.
So when you do multi-stop events, they organise all this stuff you see when you stop, but if you turn up, if they've only got 3 days in a place and you turn up 3 days late, you lose all that.
Yeah.
So that's basically our take.
So yeah, pros and cons. But I think that I wouldn't do the World Ark. We've talked about this before. I'm not really keen on doing the World Ark.
I do half of it. I do it to Australia.
No, because then no. No. Anyway,
we still disagree.
This is the conversation.
Ongoing well and regress. So Christy asks, will you travel around from November to February? Yes and no. I mean, look, the thing about living on the boat, it's fairly isolationist, and we both have families that kind of want to see us. Although both my son, we saw my dad twice last week because he was in Spain.
Yeah, that's nice.
So you know, we've got a month in England to go catch up with my parents, and a month in Australia, and then. We are both flying out at different times because I'm going to spend a bit of time more with my parents, and Teresa will go home to her parents first. So the travelling around, we may try and travel around for a week or so, but I don't think we will. We've got a lot to do for the boat.
I think that our off season is really our downtime and our rest time, and you know, we have a lot of work to do on the channel. Over the off season, there's lots of little projects that we've been kind of putting off until we have a bit more time on our hands. So, yeah, I mean, as much as I would really like to spend that time kind of travelling around. A, we have to see our families, and B, I think we crave a little bit of.
When you travel 9-10 months of the year, sometimes not travelling is great. Like when we tied up here, we're like, thank God for that. Like we've travelled. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, you know, I'm kind of like bitching about having too many $50 notes so I park in my wallet. You know, these are small potatoes, but to actually stop, like we were thinking about this last night when we were sat having our drinks. Like a month ago, we were in Cadiz, so we have just gone. We've done so many miles and so many stops and so many locations in the last month. It is time to take a rest, and I'm kind of pretty happy with that. We've had a really good, and to end the season on a high, that's also a good thing.
Hagen says, what about your vlogs for the winter period? Will you continue them? Well, we kind of, I think that the vlogs coming out at the moment are probably about, 6 weeks ago? Yeah, 6 weeks ago at the moment, so we're about 6 weeks behind. And I think that we're going to get a little bit further behind by the time, you know, we kind of lift out and go back to Australia. So the vlogs that you'll see over winter, over kind of European and North American winter, will probably be like slowly catching up with real time. And then by the time February, kind of calculated, by the time February comes around and we're back on the boat, you know, ready to splash her and get back in the water and kind of hopefully go sailing again, then we'll be all caught up in real time.
So the idea is that we've got scheduling to run for the entire off season.
Yeah, but we will film. I don't know. We're still talking about what you guys can maybe give us some idea of what you guys want to see, because we're still talking about.
Is it me fighting a bear?
What?
Just I don't want to see me fighting a bear.
We're still talking about whether what we film in the off season. So we're still having that conversation.
Yeah. So there you go. So John asking, is the cost of keeping your boat for that long a period the same as Charleston? I think it's cheaper than Charleston.
Way cheaper.
Super
I can't remember, but I don't think Charleston was particularly cheap.
Look, America's not particularly cheap. No. It wasn't cheap, but look, really, pros and cons. America, for certain things, is cheap. If you want to buy us electronics, then it's fine, but everything else is more expensive. Europe is cheap. And all of you are going to... Zazari's from Sweden. Christy's from the US. John, where are you from, my friend? And Hagen, not sure where you are from. But you should all come. Like Christy's just come from to Europe. I've seen her photographs. She was in my hometown. So yeah, it is cheap here, and the cost of living is also a lot less. It's cheap. Spain is more expensive than Portugal, but it is cheap here. So just to run through a few comparisons. Gas is
from Germany.
Gas is expensive. All I would say is that compared to the US, but the US has the cheapest gas outside of Venezuela. So I think, but food is cheap. Like a good meal in a restaurant is what, 30 or 40 bucks? 40 bucks in a good restaurant. 40
like
bucks.
Really nice meal. Yeah, really nice.
So a beer in a bar, $2.
Yeah.
$2, €2, €2.50. So it's cheap to be here. This marina is $24 a night, which is cheap for transient rate, you know, if we go to monthly rate here, it will go down. What did we say? It was like $200-300 a month.
Yeah, something like that. And yeah, Zari says everything's cheap compared to Sweden. Yes, Sweden is. I've only been to Stockholm once, and that was for a long weekend. But I was like, how much?
Yeah, I know. Well, Chris is saying wine is cheap in England. We went to a restaurant in Alicante last week, and it was one of the nicest restaurants we've eaten in a while.
Yeah, it was
like
posh.
Yeah, it was posh. She tried to drag me in there. She hoodwinked me. I thought we were getting like gyros and pizza, and all of a sudden, like, there's a man in an apron, like, and a little moustache going, "What would you like to eat?"
What accent is that?
Anyway, so they had all this wine on the wall, and I'm like, oh, bloody hell, this is going to make the credit card burn. And we got the bill. The bill was, I think it was a really good meal. It was like kind of really posh stuff that we would not normally eat, but it was delicious. Yeah. And I think the glass of wine that you had, which was a really nice wine, was like €3. So it's three, and you know, in the UK, they'd say, how much is this wine? It's like, oh, it's your firstborn child and a pint of blood.
I actually said to Nick after he poured it for me, because I didn't choose it, I just said to him, can you just bring me a glass of wine? And he's like, how about this one? I'm like, okay. And I said to Nick, how much is this glass of wine going to cost me? And I was thinking maybe like €10.
So look, John says that Newport is $6 a foot per night. You can get a hooker for less than that, $6 a foot.
That's insane.
She was tall.
Okay, so Zari says, please show us something from Australia. Yeah, I think that I'm definitely going to film. I'm excited about filming when we're in Adelaide in South Australia. I'm very proud of my hometown and my home state, and it's a beautiful, beautiful place, and I reckon that I'm going to film it.
We should get something. I mean, Delos
showcase how
do some stuff.
Is.
That's kind of cool. The Delos have done a couple of home episodes, and we should do. Look, you know what? I think we've kind of talked about what we're going to do. We kind of need to keep it really sailing related, and I'm kind of good. I'm good with that, keeping it sailing related. But you know, to have a little bit of a glimpse of what we did. The thing is, look, we are always looking to how to make the channel better, and it's not what we want to do, it's kind of what people want us to do. But every time we change even the slightest thing, there's all sorts of like furore over it, and it's just like you have to.
The music is a big thing.
The music.
People get very attached to.
There's like, why have you got rid of the theme tune? Like what that? And I'm like, because it was just getting tired. Like I am. You know, but you know, you have to change things up a little bit. So anyway, so that was that. So we will film over Australia. And Christy asks, do we have a plan for sailing after Spain in February? Vaguely. So okay,
we always have a vague plan.
These are the vague.
Don't hold us to any of these plans we're about to show you, by the way.
Yeah. See, Christy loves the new music. I love the new music as well. I spent so much time working on that bloody intro. You know,
you chose a good music track.
Yeah. I did. So next season. So we're going to get back. We're not sure because we've been in Europe for 3 or 4 years. How soon you can start? So we'll get back to the boat in February. I think we've probably got about a month's work to get sorted out before we set off, including we need new sails for the boat.
Yeah.
And there's some jobs like anti-fouling. There's no point doing anti-fouling before we get back to the boat because you know we'll do that at the last minute. So next season, we don't know. We have a vague idea that we're going to go to the Balearics. We want to go and see Menorca, Ibiza, Formentera. So that's one thing we want to do. And then after that, we don't know. We're just really just looking to where we can, without sounding like we're jumping the gun, where we can winter next season. So it's kind of like looking for a really nice community where there's like an infrastructure that we can use. So we're thinking maybe Sicily, maybe Greece.
Yeah.
So
we want to be somewhere that's like a little bit warm. And
so we've talked to a few people, but a lot of people have said that they do have engines, I suppose. Italy's quite difficult to sail around, which I don't know, but really we'll have to see what happens there.
Yeah, so we're hoping, I don't know, we've talked for years about sailing Greece, the Greek islands, you know, they're kind of like the ultimate, I think, European cruising destination. So part of us really wants to get to Greece next year, and then the other part says, well, there's so much to do between here and there, so we'll see. Okay,
Christy asks, any plans for a Patron meetup next season? Well, we're going to do, what? Next season, because we've said that we're not going to Annapolis this year. We are going to Annapolis next year, like unless like something cataclysmic happens. Because next year we've already decided we have to, because Teresa's best friend is getting married and she's a bridesmaid. Are you a bridesmaid?
Yeah.
You're a bridesmaid. Yeah. So she's got a wedding on the 24th of October, and so we will definitely be doing some time in the States next year. Like, I love going, but I can't wait to get back to the States.
I think that the bit that you missed was that
yes,
we
are. Yes, we are.
No, we have to, because of my wedding, or not my wedding, my friend's wedding that I have to obviously attend. We have to lay up earlier than we expected it anyway, so that kind of dovetails nicely with the Annapolis.
So we will definitely be in Annapolis next year. So we'll do. I think what we'll do is, this is literally just spitballing. Look, realistically speaking, we've only had this channel going 18 months. So we have kind of like, we're just feeling things out. And the meetups are so popular. Like when we did our first one in Charleston, we actually went with Bo and Alison just so that if no one turned up, we'd have someone to talk to. And it was just like nuts. We'd only had the channel going for like 5 months. Anyways, to cut a long story short, yes, we'll be doing Patron meetups next year. And I think what we'll do is, I think maybe
Christy says I'd come to Europe for a meetup.
Hold on to your hat there, girl, because we've got some other information to give you. So, yes, we'll do a Patron meetup next year. I'm not sure what format. Maybe bar, maybe just we'll sit down and have a meal and do some stuff.
Yeah, I think it depends on how many people.
Yeah, I think if it's less than 10. The thing is, we did it.
I don't think it'll be less than 10.
Well, we did a meetup in Miami, and the way that worked out, that was sit down, because there was a table at the bar, and I turned up early, and then the problem with having a sit down event is that you don't get to kind of mingle so much. So, and then like at the end of it, I tried to get around the table as much as I could. And then there's about 20 people there, and then people kept coming and going. And at the end, someone was like, I haven't had a chance to talk to you. I'm like, I've been going around the table for 4 hours. So I think we'll do some sort of mixture. I think what we'll do is we'll put the feelers out. We'll definitely be in Annapolis. I propose to come to America for a couple of weeks. There's some things I want to do and see. So, so yes. And to answer your second question, which is you come to Europe, we are, Christy, if you want, we're going to be at the Barcelona boat show in about 3 weeks' time. So, if you fancy getting on a plane, we'll be at Barcelona, and that'll be a meetup just for you, because that'll be the only place. But anyway, we'll put it out there today. Actually, we'll be at the Barcelona boat show, so we'll do something there. There you go. So that's that. John Hagen asks for information about those new sales. Well, we don't know. We really don't know. What we have done is realise that our sales are knackered. The ones we've got.
I think a lot of people have realised that our sales are knackered.
Well, we have as well. And the thing about sales is that everyone goes, performance is affected. Yes, performance is affected. Upwind, downwind. But the thing that is that the quality of the sailing that you do, not just your speed, is massively affected by how good your sails are. So, if, for instance, you've got old, worn-out sails, you heel your boat heels so much more than if you've got new sails, because what happens is the sails just fill with wind, upwind, and don't spill the wind, so you're heeling a load more. So, we heel more than we should do, probably by about 5 degrees. So, yeah, new sails. Haven't decided on a material, haven't decided on a manufacturer. We're kind of out feeling for quotes. We'll go to Barcelona and see what they've got. So that's what we're doing. John, it's a speedboat behind us. So there you go.
Yeah.
So we kind of were saying, oh shit, what do we do? Do we kind of like do this, or do we go down below? Because no one wants to hear me banging on. They're sitting there trying to sunbathe. They're like,
yeah.
Anyway, John also asked a question. John has a new North Sails Code Zero coming. Would you place a UV strip on it so you can keep it up more? Absolutely not. And there's a reason why. Firstly, I'm not sure what your Code Zero is made of. I hope that you've gone for a laminate one, because they stretch quite quickly. And what happens is, and we've seen this, if you leave it up and the wind gets up, you'll get like a little pocket in it. It doesn't furl. It doesn't furl like a jib. And the reason it doesn't furl is either you've got a Spectra luff, you still, when you kind of deploy the sail, when it's unfurled, there'll be a curve in the luff. It's not as straight as a kind of a wire or a grooved luff. So that means that when you furl it, it doesn't furl evenly. They never furl evenly. The problem that then creates, you've got a top-down furler, you will still have and you cannot get as even a furl on a spectral luff as you can on a hard luff, on a hard kind of forestay. So you'll get a little pocket in it, and if the wind gets up, that pocket will start flapping, and then at some point it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And we had some friends who did exactly this on a leopard catamaran, and the bloody thing unfurled itself. They were literally at anchor. The wind came up, and she got some really nasty rope burns.
We've had the same thing as well, although we were under sail.
Use your iPhone to search the web for a you want a bloody thing on for self in the anchor.
Apple, you suck ass.
What?
My Apple Watch just decided to... Yes. Anyway, it understands the word bloody.
What's it looking for?
I don't know. I don't know. Something about anchors. So, yeah.
We've had that as well. But
yes.
We had it hoisted while under sail, and
I mean, all we do,
unfurled.
we keep... Look, the way we've got it, our Code Zero sorted out is that we have the bag, the turtle on the deck, just where the anchor locker is. And if we're not, if we're at anchor, we're going to use it every day. We literally just drop it at night. We don't even take the halyard off. Literally, it's dropped into a bag, and kind of like takes 2 minutes to rehoist it. We don't take the sheet off. We don't take then all the kind of embuggerants with the furling mechanism, everything else. It's all there. Literally, it's just kind of like deploying it. All I would say to you is talk very carefully to North Sails about halyard tension. They are very, very dependent on the tension of your halyard, and you always think, bloody hell, I'm really cranking this halyard. Is at some point something going to give? So you need to kind of, what I would say is that when you unfurl the sail, as I said, your luff is going to have a curve in it. The curve should probably be no more than 12 inches. So from the kind of like from the top of the furler to the tack line to the midpoint. So if you draw a line between kind of like the head of the sail, or like the top of the halyard and the tack, that's one line, and then the apex of the curve, no more than 12 inches. And what we have done is we've taken a Sharpie marker and just put a line on the halyard at the point where it comes through the clutch, so we know exactly how hard to crank it. But they really are dependent on halyard tension. And ours has got to the point now where, what was that? Ours has got to the point now where, a couple more years and it'll be done. But I think, we have all but, and this is kind of another announcement for you guys, we've all but decided to sell this boat over the next couple of years. So we will, go to our new boat with all the knowledge that we've taken on from this one. But all I would say is, in the Caribbean, we only used the Code Zero once or twice, I think.
Yeah, the wind was just too strong.
Yeah. Here we use it a lot.
Yeah.
In Europe, you use a Code Zero a lot, especially when you are motor sailing, because what you're doing is, we've been here a month. I think the highest wind strength we've had was 18 knots, and that was literally coming around a cape. Most of the time, the wind is less than 10 knots here. So you're creating, if you've got sort of like 10 knots true, kind of on the beam. If you've got say you're like, well, I'm motor sailing, that will bring your apparent up to about 60. That's Code Zero. So you'll get an extra knot and a half out of your Code Zero. So yeah, that's my words.
It sure is.
Anyway,
I just want to... Is Abraham still here? Because he was here to begin with, and now he's not participated at all yet.
Who knows? Christy says, does it make you wince when other sailing channels choose not to wear safety gear? I think the thing about sailing channels, people that sail, we don't watch a lot of sailing channels. I think if you're alluding to SLV, La Vagabond, there is a stock answer. Sorry, I'm back. Sorry, John, I'm back.
I do tell him sometimes, John, but I think it's...
Abe is early. Well, how old is it? Oh, he's Abraham. She's so early. It's like, those bastards. Back to safety gear. Look, I don't mind if people wear safety gear or don't wear safety gear. We have put videos out. We don't wear safety gear. We haven't worn a life jacket for day sailing since we since we got to Europe, because it's flat calm. There's no swell in the med, or very, very little swell in the med. It's like it's a foot. You know, it's bright. There's 2 of us on deck. We have a high protected cockpit, and there's just no swell. There's no nothing. So it's a risk assessment. The problem that you've got is that we always kind of, I try to put out when we're not wearing life jackets, this is the reason why we're not wearing life jackets. I've made a risk assessment based on the conditions, and that's it. The problem is that especially people like SLV that have got a huge number of followers, and a lot of their followers aren't sailors, and there is a differentiation between this. If you look to that poll that's out on Facebook about the best sailing YouTube channels, which we are number 6, but if you look to that, like the number 1 in that channel is Delos in that poll. So Delos are number 1 and SLV are number 2, which is completely reverse to actually how many subscribers they have. SLV have 400,000 subscribers and Delos have 2,500 or 250,000. So what we have surmised from that is that a lot of SLV's subscribers aren't sailors, and so sailors kind of tend to know what they're doing. But if you are inspiring someone who is not a sailor to go and sail, I think you do have an ethical obligation or moral obligation to show it done in the correct way. And yes, so I do. I think that, you know, you make a risk assessment, but if you are influencing people, I don't think we appeal to non-sailors. I think that's what it is. Most of the people that watch us sail, because, you know, we don't do kind of the TNA sailing thing, you know, we don't, you know, so we've always said that we're sailors with a YouTube channel rather than YouTubers who've decided to buy a sailboat, and it is semantics, but there's a fine point between those two. Would you agree?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. What he said.
What he said.
There's not much else I can add to that.
What he said.
To that, to be honest.
Yeah, look, John, I kind of agree with you. And thank you for the comments, Harry. Do you know what? I like these little things. It's kind of like it's more like being in a pub rather
it's
than...
nice.
It is
I
nice.
wish that we were literally all together right now. But we have to just...
Come and visit.
Yeah,
So,
with the virtual...
we actually do. All I would say is we need to wrap this up in about 10 minutes because we've got to go and do the next one.
Yeah.
But, so...
Yeah, so if you have any burning questions, then please ask.
So, see, Zoe's got a Dutch steel motorboat. I have got a real thing for Dutch boats at the moment. I keep looking at something called a Puffin 50. All these kind of big steel bowsprit cutter rigged like pilot houses. I want one.
Yeah, and I've said cool. That we can have one of those if we're doing northern Europe.
Yeah. So
which apparently we're not anytime soon.
Yes. So John was saying, he's saying that basically to have the number 1 channel, you need to show a lot more skin. Yeah, I think you do. But look, I think it's kind of hare and tortoise, isn't it? Like there's a lot of channels that are coming up and doing their things, and SLV, you know, all I would say to you is you know, I prefer Delos to SLV. They're proper sailors. You know, I don't know. I would say that, you know, is Elena going to be as appealing to like 17-year-old kids when she is kind of like, you know, doing a mummy thing? I'm not sure. I don't know. And, you know, look, everyone sets their own stall out. The analogy that I kind of pulled up the other day was, it's a bit like music. I'm not sure what y'all are into music-wise. But, you know, the biggest artist in the world is Beyonce. Or one of the biggest artists in the world. And I'm not into Beyonce. I don't think I don't listen to her music, but she's huge. And people that love Beyonce are really into Beyonce, but people tend to pick their musical bands and love as genre. I think we just fit into whatever we do. What do you say?
Yeah, I agree. So Zari says that you're not a sailor. You said that you've got a Dutch steel motorboat. So yeah, maybe you're not a sailor, but you're still a woman who likes to be on the water, and I think that's you know.
No, I think the sailor applies to someone.
Yeah.
Someone on the water.
Yeah.
I think it does. You know, one of my best friends, Richard, he doesn't have a sailing boat. He's got a motorboat, but he's a sailor. He's a sailor, and you know that's it.
Yeah.
So yeah, you are a sailor.
Yeah.
I think if you understand watercraft, I think I draw the line at paddleboarders. But yeah.
John says that you know, the having a baby thing will change their focus. Yeah, we're going back to SLV for a minute. Yeah, I think that it would change their viewership demographic as well. I think that there'll be a lot more. There'll be a shift from obviously the 17-year-old teenage boys to, I guess, you know, more families or more couples who are looking to have a family and are interested in sailing. And you know, there aren't many sailing family channels on YouTube. One notable exception is Zatara, and they've done really, really well. And I think that's because a lot of people are interested in families who sail, and now SLV are going to be kind of, you know, they're going to be providing for that audience as well. So I think that it'll be interesting.
All I would say is that we had friends that did this. Some of our best friends, Holly and Simon, they were pregnant. She was pregnant while they were sailing. She had a baby, and they had planned to carry on sailing and doing everything, and everything changed. Not because like their mindset changed, but because they had no idea of what having a baby meant. As everyone says, everyone's like, "Oh God, you have no idea what child is," but really for them, their baby just couldn't handle any sort of swell. It got really, really sick. And obviously what they did was the right thing. They were like, the baby gets seasick, we can't sail with a baby. And they kind of had to really change their plans. In fact, she'd fly when he was doing long passages, she'd fly and he'd turn up, you know, he'd single-hand it. So you have to...
Which might be what... Who knows?
All I would say is if you have children, first thing is your children come first. So there you go.
So
Chrissy... Scott and Brittany.
Okay, so Chrissy's seeing...
Scott and Brittany.
Yeah, Scott. Well, I don't know if you meet Brittany, but yeah.
Christy, just one thing. We love Brittany. Just do not go drinking with her. Seriously, that girl can drink and I can drink. She drank me under the table.
Yes, but she might not appreciate us telling everyone how much she can drink.
No, she's a party animal. She's a real party animal. She's amazing. And Scott is like probably one of the, without sounding overly weird, he's a very good-looking man. An abnormally good-looking man. So you should have a really nice time with him.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just glad that they're working again, because I know that after Irma, their fleet was destroyed. So I'm just glad that they're
nice. They're a nice couple.
Running again.
And their kids are super cute, all three of them. So that's pretty nice. Oh, so that's awesome. So you're off to.
That'd be fun.
That's November. Yeah, take loads of pictures and say hi from us.
Yeah.
They're a really lovely couple.
Scott will probably be like, who?
Yes, actually, you know what? Every time we went out drinking with Brittany, like he never came.
No, and it was always working, wasn't he?
Well, what happened was they do tag team. Like he'd come home at 7 or something, and then she'd come out at 9. Oh, with Luke.
Yeah.
Luke, what was that?
Darcy.
Yeah. We met them in
Charleston.
Yeah,
they lost their boat, unfortunately, as you probably know.
Yeah,
they're back on another boat, but I don't know where they are.
But yeah, Christy, if you do get to meet Brittany, she's a hoot. Like they are really good people.
What's the time, babe?
We better kind of like.
We've got another 10 minutes.
We'll probably need 10 minutes to set everything up. So we've got to call it in. But you know, just come over to the next one.
Yeah. We have to obviously change
a few bits and bobs.
Yeah.
So we'll be.
So if anyone has any more questions,
we better wrap it up.
It's just
just the 7 of us.
Just the 7 of us. Abraham, you've been quiet. I know it's early or late or something, but if you've got any questions for us, now's your time. Jump in there and ask us.
Yeah.
I don't think we have any other.
No, nothing. No, the great announcement. Sorry, we'll be at the Bar Side of Boat Show. No, it's kind of like it's just, as I said, it's kind of like one of our live feeds at the end of the season. I couldn't think where we did all these live feeds. You know, we did one when we crossed the Atlantic. We did one before we set off. You know, so it's kind of nice. It's good. It's good.
Yes.
So, if no one's got any more questions, what we'll do is we'll kind of settle down for get some more beer out of the fridge, and then we'll see you. Obviously, Christ. If you really are gluttons for punishment, just wait 15 minutes. I'll be banging on about something else with all those other buggers. But no, this is good. And one thing that we are going to do,
Just lovely to hear you ramble, says Zari.
Ramble.
That's what we do.
I have a pain in my tooth.
That's what one of us does.
I think what we are going to do, because we have decided, we've almost decided that when and if we buy a new boat, it'll be a catamaran. We are going to kind of do some kind of patron meetups, either on the boat or kind of around the boat. And when I mean around the boat, which because we just do day sailing with people, so people come and just visit for a week, get some accommodation, and then we day sail with them.
Yeah, the problem with our boat is that we can only really accommodate. Well, we can't really accommodate anyone.
Yeah, so I think what we'll do is, if we end up with like a 3 or 4 cabin catamaran, we can get 10 people on board for day sailing.
Yeah.
So I think just to kind of throw some parties
we'll see. We'll see. We're always coming up with wacky ideas, and we'll just see how it all pans out.
Adopting an otter.
Who knows? If we're like in the Greek islands for a few months, then that might be a good time.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah, I think so. If we go on the cat route, as I said, we're going to the bus.
Abraham's perked up at the mention of catamaran.
I think if we go down that route, this is what we're going to go and explore at the Barcelona boat show.
Yeah.
Because the thing about Annapolis is going to be amazing. But we don't get much work done at Annapolis. You're like, oh, okay, let's go and have a look around. And all of a sudden we're like, I've had 12 beers and I can't see my own face.
Privilege, yeah, Zari says privilege. I want a privilege. Nick's not quite there yet.
We don't have the money for a bloody privilege.
No, not a new one. I want an older one.
No, I don't like it.
Yeah.
See, John,
Nick doesn't like the older styling.
Katana I would like, but outside Katana, these are new ones. Beautiful. Old katanas. Sorry, the inside they just look like oil rigs.
My main problem with the katanas is that the helm stations are exposed.
Yeah.
Same with the Uchima. I can't get around that.
Oyster 565.
That's a big boat, John.
It's a big boat. I think. Look, it's going to be mid-40s catamaran or high 40s monohull. So like 49, 48 if it's a monohull.
Yeah.
And 44, 45 if it's a catamaran.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have 1.8 million, John. There's a very problem. And you know what? If we did have 1.8 million to spend on a boat, we probably wouldn't go. We probably wouldn't go with that. I don't know. No, I think, as I said,
the use privileges are not that bad. Yeah, I'd like to sail one. I really would.
Look, this boat needs enough maintenance, and it's 6 years old. You buy a 12-year-old boat, you double the maintenance, and you'll be stuck.
I know.
Elbow deep in bilge pumps and.
No. I'd help. I'd learn. I'd learn stuff.
Yeah, like you're going to tidy your room up and make.
Shall we take everyone down to the cabin and see whose side of the cabin is messier?
Only because I went for an afternoon nap.
That has nothing to do with it.
It's a Tara on a catamaran. Is it on a privilege?
Yes.
Really?
Yes, I told you. Right. I told you this.
Listen, we are going to have to dash.
Yeah.
Look, we'll be back in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So listen, we'll do this again.
Yeah, we will.
If you want to. Oh, one final thing. We were talking about this, and just kind of put your thoughts out there. We were going to kind of put something forward as a poll within Patron, but just see what you think of those. We were either going to do a dedicated Patron Facebook page, which that was Teresa's idea, or a dedicated Patron-only WhatsApp group. There you go. And we were just looking at Kneisters today. Yeah,
they do look really nice, but it looks like their bridge deck clearance is really low. Yeah. And then you read some reviews that said, there's a lot of hull slaps, so that's a deal breaker for us. We can't be dealing with that.
So anyway, that's the thing we're talking about. Just Kneisters, why we have to touch. But yeah, so either a WhatsApp group for patrons, which I think might be kind of cool, or a dedicated Facebook page.
It depends on whether you guys want to connect with each other. And on what platform, because Patreon as a platform is great, but it's not so good for connecting and bringing together patrons rather than you connecting with us.
I think that's probably Zari says Facebook group.
Yeah,
we'll try it out there and see what happens.
We'll see if people are interested, and we'll go from there. Yeah,
so we've got some things in plans, and also anything else you want to see as patrons.
Yeah, it would be good also. Sorry, if we're doing meetups and people can kind of already know each other before they get there.
I think we're deciding as we talk.
As we talk.
So so we've got lots of plans. It's just, as I said, we kind of want to give you what you want within reason. But if you've got anything it's like, that'd be nice, let us know.
Yeah, we're very.
All right, listen, we've got dash. We've got to be on. We've got to do it live in 7 minutes. But listen, lovely to talk to you all. That'd be fantastic.
Yeah.
And
We'll do this again. We'll give you guys a bit more notice next time. I feel like we didn't give anyone enough notice.
It's usual chat on.
Yeah.
Should
we do live tomorrow? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, why not? All right, listen. Stay safe, everyone. We'll see you soon.
Yeah, bye.
Why is there only one event going?
We had two. We did choose the Patron and live chat before, didn't we? Yes, because otherwise they wouldn't have been able to.
Otherwise, yeah, but there had loads on there. Oh, coming. There's 40 people waiting.
Should I get some more beers?
Yeah.
Do you want an alcoholic one or bush?
Give me a bush, please.